let's get this video up and running, guys. First, let's start the stream. For any YouTube followers, you guys will see that in just a moment. And here we go. This is for the Facebook Live as well. Welcome back, space travelers. We got a couple of new articles I saw. Well, a little bit more than a couple. You might have saw what I just had up a moment ago. I gotta get in the habit of not giving it out too early. However, let's start with a few things that I noticed is we're going in a lot of climate change moving forward, I guess is how I would say that. We're wanting to fix the planet. We want to get some of that bad stuff like the weather issues and so on, the ocean, everything that we currently see in the news, we're wanting to see that turn around. And as much as I would like to believe that everything's getting turned around, it's hard to tell with the news lately. So we'll touch on that as well in just a little bit. We also have NASA's Lucy mission continues solar array deployment process. We have NASA generates billions in economic impact for Florida Space Coast. I have a personal comment on that once we get to that article. We have, let's see, NASA's Da Vinci mission to take the plunge through massive atmosphere. And let's see, what was the other one I did? Ah, yes, the FEMA. This is something I mentioned a minute ago, but the FEMA is here is what I mentioned in the beginning. I kind of lost track of where I was at because I clicked on them out of order. However, this one is cool. I listened to this. I'm going to go into this when we get to the article, but this was really cool to see. I'll explain it as soon as we get to the article. And the last one that I personally liked and didn't notice right away because it's smaller. I kind of wish it was a little bit bigger, but I didn't catch it on the first. So we'll go over Together We Rise or NASA Celebrates Pride Month. First on our list today. And for anybody who's joining in and this is your first video, I'm Skylar. I cover NASA's news articles because I think they're cool. And what we'll be doing in each video is I cover the new news articles, anything I'm interested in. As we get more followers, hopefully we'll see more comments and so on. With that being said, let's get right into the video though. We'll start with NASA's Lucy mission continues solar array deployment process. Now, this isn't anything big to an everyday user on the internet, probably. It's probably something that if you're a space traveler yourself or you like learning about space, it's not a big deal to everyday people. However, I'm sure the scientists and engineers think this is amazing as well as I do. Now, first couple of things is, and we'll start with the beginning of the article, NASA's Lucy mission team is in the midst of a multi-staged effort to further deploy the spacecraft's unlatched solar array. Now, as I was reading this, it's not the most exciting article, I admit. However, for me, I thought it was pretty cool. They're basically working with trying to get the solar array to expand, is probably the best way I could describe it. If you saw that, oh no, I thought this one had a picture. Oh, here we go. Is this a... we'll show it here. So these little solar arrays, because that's essentially what I believe is the solar array, but collecting the energy that they're trying to get, and we're going to back up here. They have the mechanism expanding using different motors, and you can see that here if you check out the article as well. On May 9th, the team commanded the spacecraft to operate the array's development motor using both the primary and backup motor windings simultaneously to generate more torque. An example, a harder pull. So what this made me think of when I saw it was if you've ever seen Treasure Planet, the animated film, Jim uses a, for lack of a better word, like a solar surfboard or a solar skateboard. I can't for the life of me forget what that's called. I went to search it a little bit ago, but I said I'm running late on the live. So we'll touch on that again if we see a new NASA's Lucy mission article, and I'll comment more on that later. But if you remember how the sail expanded, that's what this made me think of, and I thought that was pretty cool. And as you get more into this, you'll see on May 26th, whoop, not everything, on May 26th, the spacecraft was again commanded to deploy the solar array as in the first two attempts, because in the first part of the article, you'll see they do it a couple of times. Uh, both motor windings were operated simultaneously for short periods of time to avoid overheating. I imagine the engineers might develop something a little bit later down the road, and later down the road for them might be like 5 to 10 years. It's kind of hard to tell, and I'm still a little bit new in the scientific field as far as NASA's area, but what I would imagine is they might try to create a better motor so that they can get that exact perfected deployment so that it actually does what they want it to do. Because right now they're kind of experimenting with it. They, we're gonna skip down here because I want you guys to also take a look at the article as well if you're interested. The link is in the description, so you can take a look at NASA's website. If you don't trust my links, I know some people are very we'll say sensitive, or if you want to call it, they're a little bit paranoid on the internet, and with good reason. Internet can be kind of scary. Feel free to check out NASA's page itself at nasa.gov, and you can see the article on their homepage as well. Now, a few things is the team has several opportunities to repeat these deployment commands. While there is no guarantee that the additional attempts will latch the array, there is a strong evidence that the process is putting the array under more tension, further stabilizing it. So that's pretty cool. Um, Now, we're going to go ahead and skip to the next article. And again, this article is in the description, or feel free to take a look at NASA's website itself. Moving on to NASA generates billions in economic impact for Florida Space Coast. Now, I'm not going to go over the article's pieces too much. I live in Florida currently, and I don't think I've ever been to the actual Space Center. I may have as a child, but I don't 100% remember. But a few things I know that the article went over was it's bringing jobs for people. It's showing that the center is very healthy as far as income goes to go to all the workers and people involved. And I thought that was pretty neat for the Space Center. But I will say, I personally think Florida is getting a little crowded. So if you're thinking to moving to Florida because you love space as well, I would be cautious and take note that there are a lot of people moving to Florida from various different states. And crowded isn't meant to sound negative or anything, it just means that I have noticed there are a lot of people coming here. Myself, because of this, me and my roommate are actually moving to a different state. So I'll be doing that for a couple years to further my education. And then after that's done, I may be moving back. I may have a different plan. It all depends on, what the future brings us. But this was a neat article. It's just, the Space Center trying to show that we are doing well. The government doesn't back the funding like it used to, and that's not necessarily a bad thing or a good thing, but it does show that they are bringing in more money so that the Space Center can further expand. This helps climate change, this helps further space exploration, and this also helps workers support their families. Now, I know some people might be a little bit touchy on the subject, being that there is currently a lot going on in the world as far as money goes and the market and so on. That's not to touch base on this. Sorry, I had to crack my knuckle. It felt very funny. But it's not to make anybody feel uncomfortable. It's just to show that our world is growing, and I don't personally think we're gonna stay in that negative realm, or we're still trying to figure out how to get things done. Other things I did see in previous articles is we're even trying to figure out how to work with plants and make food easier to grow. So that's some cool things to look forward to from NASA's articles and NASA's fundings. Now, aside from that, we're going to go ahead and move to the next article. And this one is something I got really excited about when I saw it. So, here Sounds of the Sea, an ocean scientist's music project. A few things to note on this. it's not, how do I say, it's not ocean sounds. I tried to find if this would be copyrighted for me to play it. I did listen to it. It is really pretty. It is really cool. I am gonna pause it so you can see the actual first part of this. So I can explain a little bit. First, we'll read this, and then I'll explain what this is. So, experience this. Is this the top? Show the name on the actual article as well, but experience the swirls of the coast of Rio de la Plata. I do hope I'm pronouncing that right. If I am not, I apologize. To the upwellings in the Indian Ocean put to musical notes of imagery from our own Earth observing satellites. For the last 18 months, a scientist and his brother at NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center in Greenbelt, Maryland, have been developing an online program that merges ocean color data with musical notes. Now, if you're just got that last part and you're already thinking like, all right, I have an idea what this is, you're probably correct because as soon as I read it, I thought the same thing. It's pretty neat. The goal is to give onlookers an immersive experience into the ocean imagery Goddard scientists study every day in an effort to understand the complexities of a large changing ecosystem. And then, in quotations, we wanted to tell a story to appreciate the connectivity of our Earth's ocean through this oral sonic experience. I was having issues reading that. I do apologize. Said co-creator and Goddard scientist Ryan Vander Meulen. We use music because it's engaging and dynamic and connects us across a wide variety of backgrounds. Now, if you go check this out, now I put the actual description. Sorry, I put the link in the description. I can't talk today. It's been a very hectic day, so bear with me. But the link's in the description, and it's Hear Sounds of the Sea and Sonifications. Now, the first thing that came to mind was this sounds like a video game almost, which is pretty neat. I like video games. I know a lot of people grow up with video games, and it's basically these color charts here. They're the notes, as the description said up above here, and as you're listening to it, it does like it reminded me of Zelda. I thought it was neat. Now, I don't want to spoil too much because if you're interested, uh, there's a lot more information that I don't want to spoil too much. You might see it on screen, but I would go take a look at it. There is a lot of crazy, cool stuff in this article that I just never thought I would experience. But another thing that you'll notice here is the music note will show you going through the actual coast here. And as it plays, you'll see it move. And that's what these charts are relating to is this little line here. And I guess you're just going to have to go check it out for yourself. Again, links in the description, or feel free to use the actual NASA webpage itself, nasa.gov. This is not my material. I just like to cover it and share stuff that people may not actually see. There's a lot of stuff on Facebook and YouTube, and people, go over all that stuff, and that's fine. But I'd rather show the actual information from its source. Sometimes people get it kind of mixed up or twisted, or not in a bad way. I know sometimes that happens too, but it's more to let people know Facebook is not a news source and YouTube is not a news source. If you got the news source from there and then you cross-checked it, by all means, just the facts is a good way to like double check. You can also use the Wayback Machine. I heard that from Mutahara. I haven't tried that yet, so I can't be 100% sure, but he is a really well-known YouTuber, and I found a lot of stuff he uses if you're on the technological side of interest. If you like that kind of stuff, it is something to take a look at. But again, I haven't personally tried that. It's something I plan to try in a little bit, but I think that's more for personal people, like individuals, not personal people. That's not a thing. Anyways, moving on to the next article. Da Vinci mission to take the plunge through massive atmosphere of Venus. Now, this is something I think is neat. So I'm just going to read a little bit from the article first, and then I'll get over to some of the conversation that I wanted to kind of touch on. So, in a recently published paper, NASA scientists and engineers give new details, about the agency's deep atmosphere Venus investigation of noble gases, chemistry, and imaging, and then Da Vinci in parentheses mission, which will descend through the layered Venus atmosphere to the surface of the planet in mid 2031. Now, we're not super close to 2031, um, so it's going to be a little bit before we hear more about that. However, Da Vinci is the first mission to study Venus using both spacecraft flybys and descent probes. Now, some cool things about this is the more science we learn around our world, around other worlds, and I don't know if that's a way to say the more science we learn, but the more we learn, the more we can add to what we know in science. Science is still a progress in theorizing, taking steps, learning new things, and who knows, we might even find a new element that's not even on our planet. Or maybe it could be on our planet, we're just not sure how to find it yet. Who knows? But as we grow as a species, I like to think we might be able to utilize things that are outside of our scope and better our world too. But I'm going to let this article be for people who are more interested in this because it does get a little bit more in depth with this. It covers some of the stuff that we want to actually, you know, grow on as far as, and you saw it up here too, where it's mentioning chemistry and imaging, gases, so on and so forth. Those are all the things that we could utilize to benefit our planet, benefit the human race to be better. Doesn't mean it will find it easily, but exploring space and finding new stuff is not a bad thing. Now, I'm going to go ahead and move to the next article. I don't want to spend too much time on each one because that makes the video longer. And we're already almost at 20 minutes, and I don't want you guys to get bored. Now, this one's a little bit more related to climate. So, I know some people might still be questioning how climate change is actually a thing, or climate change, that's not real. I've heard even some of my family members question it, and they're not as familiar. Now, religious people, non-religious people, it's not about that. It's about our planet's health. It's about humans taking care of the planet. And I didn't, it probably says it right here. NASA supercomputer model shows how greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide, CO2, a key driver of global warming, fluctuate in Earth's atmosphere throughout the year. Higher concentrations are shown red. Okay, so I didn't actually know what this was, and it's very distracting on screen. I have ADHD, so sometimes images can be extremely distracting. So like going down here is a little bit better, but I definitely didn't notice the small print here. Now, some of the things that it covers is we're trying to partner with other companies. I don't recall if it said countries. I do not remember if that mentioned like how we're doing that. Let's control F. I can't spell. Okay. So, but NASA is working with FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency. You can see that here. And it has released a guide which provides resources for adapting to and mitigating impacts of climate change. The guide Building Alliance for Climate Action. So if you click this, it takes you to another article on the FEMA page. Now we're going to let that be. I don't know the copyright scenarios there, and I don't want to step on anybody's toes. I just want to share the information and get it out more. Not looking for any kind of money. I just want to spread news from a source. So just to reiterate that. But there's other areas in here that give you other links. So that, this area, and we're not going to go over this whole article. As again, I want to keep the video a little bit shorter so you guys don't get bored. But this guide is a result of the Alliances of Climate Action. So again, if we click on this one, this takes us here, and this is with Resilient Nation Partnership Network. That's NASA and FEMA working together on that one. There's also a disasters mapping portal. Now, I'm not going to dive too much into these because it does make me nervous, or anxious, I guess is what I would say. Like, I like to know this stuff, but the more I dive, it can be very heartbreaking. It can be upsetting. It can be sad. We want things to change, and we know there's a lot of stuff that goes on. Like, if you see in the US, there's a lot going on here. Now, I'm not going to, again, touch too much there, but there's so much going on with our planet. There's so much going on in the news that it's not always fun to hear the negative news. Sometimes we need to hear it, but we also want to keep our spirits up. You know, not necessarily wear a fake smile, but keep our mind in an area that gets this down, makes it where we don't see these kinds of things as often. That would be something really cool. But if you notice, NASA's Earth System Observatory, this is another link. So supporting this effort are the Earth observing missions we are flying today and building for the future. In a nutshell, I'll just kind of throw some other videos I mentioned previously. I didn't say that right. Throw some other articles I mentioned in previous videos where we use satellites to cover climate change, to research it. We research storms, natural disasters, and we see it in a different view when it's in a aerial view from space. So like hurricanes, if you saw, I actually just clicked on that, I thought. Yeah, disaster mapping. So like this kind of stuff. One of the previous videos I mentioned was we're almost there. But one of the previous videos I mentioned how we're working to track storms, see how hurricanes form and how that works and how to better prepare and better track its movements. And being that I live in Florida, we have hurricanes annually. I know other people in other states have experienced that here and there, but like I think I've been okay the last couple of years. I think the last 2 years we didn't get hit that hard, but other states did. But in previous years we had like before I was born, we had one in Miami. I want to remember what that was. Hurricane Andrew, I think is what it was. And my dad, he actually went with the National Guard to help and support the people that got hit. And when I heard the stories of that when I got a little bit older, that was nerve-wracking because we have so many things that we're trying to work with. I think I closed the other one by mistake. Yeah. But when I was a kid, I remember seeing something like this. It wasn't necessarily the same concept or the same type of view, but we've all seen something like this expressing how climate change is scary if we don't take care of it. And we've been working on this for years now, and some people still think it's fake. But you can do experiments to kind of shed light on that climate change is real. It doesn't magically disappear. If you destroy the oceans, then where do we get our water? And people say there's plenty of water, and no. Like, although that's vast, if you contaminate it, then you have to create a new method of working to fix the oceans. Why do we need to do that? It would be my question when we can just not pollute it, work better to clean it up, and so on. Now, we're going to step aside from the negative talk here. It makes me sad a little bit to kind of go more into that. It is stuff I like to learn, but it can be sad to review and go over. So we're going to go over the coolest part here. I'm not going to click on it because again, I don't know the copyright scenarios, but you can see there's Pride Month for people who are working in NASA. They're proud of it. I never understood why people care. Like this gentleman on screen, for example, he's just a dude. I don't know him. And he lets us know that he is gay in the video and he's never felt more alive, essentially. But the people that have hate towards that, it doesn't make sense. It's I usually say something to the extent of it's not my business if I don't like it or if I do like it. Like it's not my business to jump in and say, no, 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 you're not allowed to do that. I mean, it's not my life anyways. And I don't understand the people that do that. Now, I'm not going to be trying to tell any fibs here and saying, I am personally gay or I am personally trans. Like, that's not the case here. I'm just saying I support Pride Month. It has nothing to do with my life, so I have no reason to hate it. I know that sounds silly, but I kind of view things in life where if it's not hurting me, if it's not damaging me, if it's not affecting me, why should the people that let it bother them let it bother them? Just doesn't make sense to me. Some people have stated, hey, they're going to change the planet and this and that. And there's statistics showing that Social Security is going to go down because, they're not having babies. So it's not your life. Other people have said, other things related to, I don't know if there's copyright on the image, so I want to take it off. That's the only reason I'm taking it off. As I don't want to make anybody mad. But I don't care if you're such and such. I don't care what your preference is. I don't care any of that stuff. It doesn't affect me. And people that say it does, I think you're lying. It doesn't make sense. Like, if there was a person affecting you violently, that's not because of whatever sexual preference they have. It's not because of this and that. It's because they might be a bad person. But preferences on what you like, that's not something you need to be bothered by. Move on with your life, This is a great month to support Pride Month. And every day should be supporting people who are different sexual preferences or transgender. Like, okay, if they had a surgery done, so what? Who cares? They might care in their own way for like I want to look a certain way, and that's their decision. Stop bothering them in a negative fashion. It's not something you need to be bothered by. Also, it just holds you back from your own, pathway. You can grow, move forward in life, and something that I was taught by my roommate was when you let somebody get angry, like this here, we'll use this. This is easy to use. So France signs Artemis Accords as French space agency marks. Now, something that I've heard people say is, they're French suck or this and that, and I'm like, why? I've never been there, so like I have no idea why these people say this. Now, I could say an individual is mean or sucks or this and that, but that's probably something more related to they were mean or rude or something. There needs to be a reason why you're upset with somebody. Sorry if you hear the loud vehicle outside. I don't have very good studio stuff, but it's if it's not something that's bothering you physically, if it's not affecting your daily life, let it be. Move on with your life, okay? Go check out the video for Together We Rise. This is a really cool video to watch. I don't want to spoil this because some people might want to watch the full video. And then, of course, NASA has other videos that will pop up if you see on the side here. Give them a look, take a look, grow your knowledge, grow your love for space, grow your love for adventure. And with that, have a good rest of your day, and good night, fellow space wanderers.